So here it is. I call it my ugly junk pickup winder, and it cost about, I want to say, under 70. The components, and there's only 5 or 6, are really surprisingly cheap. I think the total of all those parts were 50 bucks, plus another 10, 15 for extra hardware and things. So I'm going to go over the features, and I'll go over each of the parts in more detail in a minute. It has a 5-position LED counter that's hooked up to this sensor, and on the bobbin holder is a magnet, so as it swings past the sensor, it triggers the counter. The motor is a up to 1,000 RPM eccentric drive motor, and it can be speed controlled from nothing up to the full 1,000 RPMs. I believe that's the most important or most expensive part, and that was, I think, 16. It's got a 2-way switch to go clockwise and counterclockwise. If you're doing a humbucker where you cross over and go back down, this will be effective. And this is the knob for the speed controller. And the speed controller is a little circuit board, and I believe that was $8. And you basically wire power to it and the motor. It's screw terminals, so you don't have to solder. I think I only soldered the wires to the motor and the wires to the automotive fuse holder. There's a fuse in the power line, a 2-amp fuse, just to protect it. The other feature is this guide arm, which is adjustable here, so depending on where you're sitting, you can adjust it, and then you move these collars to the thickness of your pickup. The other feature I added to my design, besides mounting the LED display on top at an angle, is that it is removable, and there's just enough cords that you could set it down on the table next to you. So depending on how you're sitting or whatever, you can make sure you can see it. That's just an option I put on because I'm extremely tall. So let me fire it up. I'm going to make sure the counter is zeroed out. We're going to start clockwise. I'm going to fire it up. I'm taking it all the way up to 1,000 RPMs, and there's very little wobble or vibration. Slow it down, and I'm going to take it to about there so you can see that the counter is indeed moving. I'm going to zero the counter out. You can see it, and the counter does follow, so no matter how fast you go, it's not slipping or missing. Put it back. I'm going to stop it, switch directions, take it all the way up, and take it back down. And it's powered by a simple 12-volt wall wart, that you all have lying around the house, I'm sure. And I'll go into more detail on the components in the next segment. Okay, we'll go over the parts real quick for the pickup winder. It's really not a lot of components, and it's not very expensive. I think the most expensive part was the motor, and that was $15. I'll go over everything. So yeah, we'll start out with the motor, which I already have mounted in the box. So I can't give you too big a look. It's just basically a cylinder. And this is made by Gearstan. It's a 12-volt, 1,000 RPM, high-torque, electric motor, micro-speed reduction geared eccentric motor. So basically, you can lower the RPMs as needed. And that was $15.49, and it's sold by Gearstan on Amazon. Now, speed control, and this was amazing because this was all of $7 on Amazon. I'll zoom in real close. This is the Unique Goods DC micro speed controller, PWM, adjustable driver switch. This was $7. It can run from 1.8 volts up to 30 watts. So we're running 12 volts on it. Basically, you have your circuit board and you have your terminals for your power in, and then what runs to the actual motor. And then it just has a rheostat on a simple circuit board, and you don't even have to solder. It's all right there. $7. Who can beat it? Your ubiquitous 12 volt power supply. You just snip that off and go in. Probably everyone has one at home. I actually bought this because I didn't think I had any to spare. And this was $6.99. This is the Homry LCD digital tally counter with panel gauge. It's battery powered. Basically, this is a sensor which will pop in here, so it's right next to where the motor is. And this is your counter box, which is wired in. It'll be up there. It's a 5-digit digital counter, and basically it comes with a magnet on this rack, which you can remove, and you would basically glue the magnet onto your bobbin, and as it spins, it will trigger the counter, and you'll get your RPMs, and it can handle the high speed of the 100 RPMs with no problem. The next component is the Winmo heavy duty Dpdt toggle switch. It comes with a waterproof cap, but that's not important. And the reason you want a Dpdt switch is so that you can wire it up to go clockwise, and then with the flip of the switch, counterclockwise, and then off is in the middle. And I'll show you this when I have it wired up. But basically, you wire up one side as normal, which it would be that side to face, I believe. And then you do jumper wires from hot to ground on the other side of the throttle. And that way, when you flip the switch, it will reverse the polarity and reverse for you. And the final thing is just a basic inline fuse holder. And this is not the right fuse, and a 2 or a 3 amp fuse. I bought a bunch of 2 amps, so I'm going to throw in. And basically, when you wire it up, this would go between the plug and the circuit board. So you come in on the hot line, wiring it up, and that way you're just protecting the speed controller. And that's really it. That's everything of the main components.